Apparently some of the members asked to leave the military and could not, and people have been very scared about this. We also have Bang PD getting called out and what is going on with that, and then we have Jung Kook speaking up about his love. Say Dumplings is Dave decided, let's get into it. If you are not aware, recently Jung Kook had a behind-the-scenes clip come out of his process when he made his album. First off, he has his documentary air in theaters, and then there have been some clips posted on YouTube that you can watch. Given it's not much of it, as most of the clips posted on YouTube are just about 1 minute long, but it's still a fun amount to enjoy. But there was a clip that came out where it showed Jung Kook talking about his lead female actress. This is likely for 7, and he talks about how he just falls in love every time he sees her. And people have used this as part of a bigger conversation online. Of course, if you are not aware, there is a ship going on between JK and Jimin, as well as JK and V. So a lot of people think that no matter if Jimin or V are gay or whatever, in this scenario, JK would definitely be. However, in the clip that we just see, we can conclude that he often thinks about women, or that he falls in love with women after looking at them. But also he has quite a few songs on his album that are sung towards women or are written about women. The song being written about women don't actually mean anything, because we have people like Ricky Martin, who is gay and writes and sings about women, but him talking about how he falls in love with women is of course a different thing. It was actually very interesting because not only do a lot of people believe that JK is gay and believe it to such a degree that when JK released those songs singing about women or released the music video showing a woman, so many people in the community actually cried and got upset. And this is something that I think is super interesting to cry and get upset about, especially when it's something that you made up in your head that hadn't been officially confirmed yet, and then believe it to the point where now if you see the art that he makes, you're getting upset about it, because there's really nothing you can go off of when someone hasn't confirmed anything. So if you thought Ricky Martin was straight because of all the music that he was making talking about girls, because he hadn't confirmed that he was gay, because if he hadn't confirmed that he was gay, then it's only courteous to think that he's straight. And from what I would gather from the music that he puts out, is that at least from the music, he would want people to think that he's straight. I think we can believe that to be true because this is the type of music that he is presenting out there. And JK is very much aware that he is singing about a girl, so from his music, he prefers us to think that he's straight. At least I think this. So that should be very telling into what he would like to be categorized as. Now, what actually he is, we still have no idea, and you're free to make the judgment or have your own fantasy about this. However you choose, there's no judgment there, and whatever people want to believe is whatever they want to believe, and I hope they have fun with it. But the fact of the matter is, people shouldn't have been crying or upset about this, nor should they have gotten upset about something that came out like this, where it's like a video talking about how he thinks an actress is pretty and he's in love. Switching gears a little bit, we need to talk about how Bang PD was recently mentioned at a court thing. So this was at the National Assembly hearing, and of course NewJeans made an appearance, as that's what this whole lawsuit and situation has been about. The situation has evolved a little bit, and of course there is now a new CEO, and basically what some of the members of NewJeans are trying to express is that working under these newer executives has not been great, specifically addressing some harassment and some of the things that she has gone through under new management or under the old label's management. Now, this situation had moved up the ladder to the National Assembly, as now it seemed to involve K-pop rights and just like workplace rights within K-pop. So it's no longer an issue between the companies. Now it's an issue of, if they win, should new laws be implemented to change certain things. Now, the specific member Hani was talking about was her experience with Bang PD, who apparently wasn't at the National Assembly, but maybe was called to be there and couldn't show up. One of the representatives who represents the Democratic Committee, I believe, spoke about how Bang should definitely be there and not in the US. Now, we actually have no idea where he is now, but if he actually didn't make it to the National Assembly, we can assume that something was going on that didn't allow him to show up. I mean, I doubt he would just not show up to this lawsuit, as he was a part of it, and if it escalated to this point, he would probably want to show up. Then Hani said something a little bit shocking, where she alleged that every time she greeted Bang never actually acknowledged her greeting. Now, she did specifically acknowledge that in Korea, the elderly person is supposed to be treated with more respect, and maybe they don't have any obligation to treat the younger person in any type of way. But she felt like Bang was very rude, as he never accepted any of her greetings. I don't fully know what that means. I don't think that was ever fully expressed, if what that meant, and if she just said hi and then he looked away, or whatever it was, if she bowed and he just didn't bow back, I don't know. But I will say, I think this is a strange point to bring up, and a harassment meaning. I don't think this is as relevant. Perhaps she's implying that if one person, specifically a chairman, may feel it's okay to be rude and the other people could then be rude too. But I feel like someone not accepting a greeting would not be the same as harassing someone. Like, I don't think if someone who saw Bang allegedly not accept a greeting would sit there and be like, oh, okay, now I can bully these people because Bang didn't accept a greeting, so it must mean that I'm allowed to do whatever I want. All of this is alleged. I don't particularly pick either sides here. I'm just talking about what happened, and I think overall a lot of this stuff is quite strange. I'm glad that things are being looked into. However, I do find it very strange. Now, Adore is definitely a subsidiary of the main label, so a lot of different things and rules and practices could happen at that subsidiary versus the main umbrella of the label. However, it's interesting because these seemingly are the only girls that are coming up to say that they have been treated badly, whereas there are other girls in the label that haven't really said anything or felt the same way, at least not to my knowledge. They could come out during this court case later, and just because other people didn't say anything doesn't mean that it didn't happen. But I would like to see and wait and hear what's going on before I come to a conclusion. Right now, I am skeptical on both sides. I am also optimistic on both sides, so I do want to hear what comes out. Some more details also came out about what happened with J-Hope and him leaving the military. If you're not aware, he had been released from the military and people were very excited about this. During when he left, he had his little press moment while the reporters were waiting outside, and I think a lot of people found it very strange that Jin was the only one that showed up. Now, the boys made a pact that every time one of the members leave, they would all kind of come together and congratulate them and show love. It was very odd when literally the only person that showed up was the one that wasn't in the military anymore. So people collectively thought something must have been very wrong, right? Like, if literally everyone else didn't show up, then something must have happened. So all of the members except Suga were in the DMZ zone. This is the demilitarized zone, and this is, I think, in the border area, and specifically the area that we're talking about is likely the border between North and South Korea. Some of the members were definitely guarded to do this. I think recently they have all moved to guard that area. As if you're not aware, there has been a lot of tension between North and South specifically. Like, I think the North had just labeled the South as a threat or considered an enemy, so there's like this Cold War happening. They're literally like one gunshot away from a war happening. So when the boys found out one of the members is leaving, they wanted to try to get notice to leave as well, at least for the afternoon, so they can wish J-Hope a good departure. They do have to get permission, and no one's really leaving the DMZ right now, so likely that's the reason why we didn't see them with J-Hope, is because they weren't allowed to leave. So also keep in mind, just because Suga isn't actually in the military, like the fighting part, and he's doing more of an alternative service, it doesn't mean that he would be let out to do whatever he wants either. This has caused a lot of concern for all the members. A lot of people were bringing up JK, but it's really a concern for all of the members. If the country does break out in a war anytime soon, the remaining members who are in the military, excluding Suga, would have to be fighting the war. Like, they would automatically be drafted, and it would kind of be scary. Now, obviously, every soldier doesn't die when they're in a war, but there's a high chance, I think, and it's quite scary to think what could happen, and I don't know what they would do, because if they were to stick and fight the war, they would be risking their lives. If they were to try to find a way to get out of it, I'm sure people would mock them for that. But I think what's happening right now is they're just going to hope that they can serve out their last few months and then try to leave. Although if the country does break out in a war, even after those few months, they would still probably be drafted since they were the most recent ones. I'm assuming they might know something that we don't, and I'm hoping that the boys know that neither country right now probably wants to fight, so they're just going to try to keep the peace. I wish I had some good news or some way to reassure everybody, but this is real, and it's a real issue that's happening right now, so a war could be very likely. Although I do think if a war does break out, the South would likely win, because I think they have better allies and they have more access to weapons. But all we can hope for right now, and all we can pray for right now, is things remain peaceful. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thanks, just leave a comment right here. Love you, bye.